Alright my friends, welcome to the highly anticipated, highly requested long-term review of this Ram 2500 6.4 Hemi that we have here. Lots of people requesting this video, so let's get into it. Well, now that we're getting that water drained out of there, let's discuss this here just a little bit. I've been holding off on this video because I was waiting until I had something to report, and I still really don't have a whole lot to report. We're at 30,000 miles. This will be the 5th oil change. We're still using this Pennzoil OW40 that the manufacturer calls for with the SRT logo on it, just like they recommend. Personally, I think that OW40 is a good weight oil for a heavy-duty truck, especially the Hemi such as this. The thin at cold starts helps it get to the lifters quickly, and the 40 weight, when it gets hot, it doesn't get too thin. And you know, if you're using this truck to tow like we are, then you don't want it to get thin when it gets hot. You know, we can get into the temperatures, the running temperatures of this motor and transmission. Neither of them, and we tow through mountains and all kind of stuff, the temperatures never get hot. Especially the transmission of this is what I really like, that ZF 8-speed transmission. It never gets above like 180, and that's when you're really pushing it up a hill. Most of the time, even when you're towing, it sticks around 170. So that's a big plus to these in comparison to my GM trucks, and from what I've seen other YouTubers talk about the current GMs with the 6.6 and even the Allison. It's danger hot when you're towing with those things, like 220 plus. And I have like first-hand experience with that with my old GMC. Now granted, it was a half-ton, but it was always above 200. So kudos to Ram for whatever they're doing with the transmission cooling on this bad boy. We're just going to open up the hood here because we want to let a little bit of light in. As far as the inside of the truck, everything's worked flawlessly in here. You know, no problems with the crew cab configuration. It is a little smaller than some of the competitors, but I like that because it makes the truck physically smaller. It makes it fit in this spot in the garage a little easier, and maneuvering around parking lots and stuff like that. That's why if we wanted more space, we could have got a mega cab, but I like the maneuverability of the truck. What I will say is double-edged sword with this being a smaller truck is Ram's bed is also smaller. So when you use your truck as a truck for hauling like lumber and stuff like that, in GM trucks, you can put an 8-foot 2x4 diagonally across the bed. You cannot do that in this. That does suck because, especially with the cap on, anytime I'm hauling supplies, it's got to stick out and not real fun. But for everything else that we do, as far as the RVing situation and all that, the smaller bed is really a non-issue. You can no longer get this interior of the truck. You're stuck with black, and more black. They even got rid of the brown interior on the Bighorns. So if you want something nice, you can no longer option for Bighorn. So very glad that we got this when we did. We will talk about that a little bit here later on in the video, but generally speaking, disappointed with the current options for Ram trucks. Alright, maybe that'll let a little bit of light in so I can find the oil filter. Ever since I changed the oil the first time, I've been using these Wix XP filters. I've always used Mobil 1 filters on all my other vehicles, but I switched this over to Wix based on some recommendations. And Wix is still a very good filter. I'm not going to knock it at all. But a recent test was done that I watched. They did a comparison between the Wix XP and the lesser Wix, and Purelator Boss was on the comparison, as well as something else I forget. But it doesn't matter. The Purelator Boss came out on top in the comparison. It filters finer particles than the Wix. It is slightly more restrictive, but the difference is minuscule. The difference in particulate filtration, though, was a big difference. So we're going to go with the Purelator Boss. I think they do cost like a couple dollars more. I should mention also, as it relates to this Pennzoil stuff, the natural gas ultra platinum full synthetic, it tests quite well, and some independent comparisons done. So I know a lot of people complain about having to use this oil and that nothing else meets the certifications, but this is good stuff. And I'm not sponsored by Pennzoil or anybody else, but I'll tell you, I've been so pleased with the results of my research as it relates to Pennzoil that we just actually switched my Camaro, which is pretty much my prized possession, over to Pennzoil just today as well. So yeah, I've essentially found no problems using Pennzoil, and that's why, I'm going to continue to use it in the truck. While we're waiting for the oil to drain out, we're going to rotate the tires. I do apologize, the truck's a mess. It's hunting season, so such is life. But these BFG KO2s that I put on like 2 days after we bought the truck, we've got 30,000 miles on them, and they've still got plenty of life left. I've been rotating them with every oil change. They're wearing evenly. The alignment of the truck and all that stuff looks good. Yeah, I imagine it'll be a while till we put out a video on new tires, because these are going to last a while, I guess. So I always lift the back end up off the ground in its entirety. That way I can crisscross the tires. So I'll take both backs off and move them to the fronts. The fronts I do individually then. I've wrote my rotation pattern on the wall here. You probably can't see it. The rears crisscross as they're going to the front, and the fronts go straight back. That way you get all 4 tires in each spot over the course of your rotation. Looks like we've got plenty of brake pad left here on the rear, so that's a good thing too. It's always good when your truck requires nothing extra from you. While I'm around here looking at the truck and doing things with the truck, I'm looking for any kind of rust or corrosion that's starting. If you remember, when we bought the truck, we put on CRC rust inhibitor, which is a cosmoline based product, which I like to use when a vehicle is brand new and has no rust on it, because it's a fairly permanent coating. Lately though, when I change oil and stuff, I'm using this PB Blaster Surface Shield. Now this is a lanolin based product, so it creeps quite a bit more, which is good. It's a less permanent thing, so you gotta, recoat or whatever, but it's better for spots that's already rusted. Like a cosmoline, if it cracks or the water gets in there, it'll bubble up. This won't do that. But yeah, things are so dirty, it's very difficult to tell right now, but really I don't see any kind of corrosion forming anywhere on this truck, which is a good sign. We're almost 3 years old, been through 2 complete winters here in the Northeast, and yeah, they throw salt around like it's crazy, and it's holding up pretty good. So that's a good sign if I'm not having to spray much with this. We're getting somewhere with the old rotation. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the front brake pads look pretty good as well. So again, big plus when you don't have to do anything with the truck. Over the course of the last 3 years and 30,000 miles, we've pretty much done very little. There was a recall on the tailgate that we had taken care of. The recall was the tailgates was flying open when people were driving down the road. Ours, it wasn't quite that problem. Our problem was, and it was still related to the recall, was that ours actually wouldn't open. So you'd hit the button to unlatch it. It's got that electric actuator in there or whatever, and because it was aligned cattywampus, it wouldn't open. So sometimes you had to hit the button 2 or 3 times and jiggle it around and stuff, and so the recall fixed that. The other problem we had was, as it relates to the trailer tire pressure monitoring system that we ordered as an option with the truck, and it's got the sensors that are in the tires of the trailer. The module that's actually in the truck for that went bad, so that was fixed under warranty. Would have been a year ago today, essentially. And they said that the actual part, that module, is not very expensive. It was only like $100 or something. So if that was to ever break when we're out of warranty, it's not an expensive fix. They had to tear the whole headliner out of the truck to get to it because it's somewhere up under there. So that would suck if that ever happens to me again. But having the trailer tire pressure monitoring system when we're going down the road is exponentially valuable to me. It's really a safety issue to not have something like that, and to have it integrated in the dash, to me it just makes life a lot easier. We did a whole video on the install of that. The truck has no rust, which is surprising. I actually bought 3 cans of that PB Blaster stuff, and I might not use even half a can, so that's good. Alright, so of course we will go back and torque all those lug nuts by the time we're done with this whole project. You don't want to forget about that. I think 130 foot-pounds is what they're supposed to be. To me, I just want them to all be even. That way the rotors don't get warped. That's pretty important, because if your brake pads are lasting as long as these and you warp your rotors by not doing silly stuff like not torquing your lug nuts, then that's just a waste of money, essentially. So yeah, like I said, we have had very few issues with the truck, and from a performance standpoint, none whatsoever. Now, some of you who might not have been following the channel think, well, we're just towing a 7,500 pound, 26 foot travel trailer. But that's not the case. We have recently purchased what you see behind me over here. It's a little bit difficult to see because there's a pole in the way, but this is a Salem 29 View by Forest River. It's their brand new floor plan. It has some record-breaking campside windows. Yeah, this thing's a beast. It's 35 feet long and it weighs 10,000 pounds. And it puts over 1,000 pounds when it's dry on the tongue of the truck over here. Between that and the extra batteries and everything we keep in the pass-through here, I would imagine we're looking at close to 1,500 pounds of weight on the tongue of the truck. So we, of course, had to upgrade the weight distribution hitch to make this happen. The coil springs on the ram pretty much necessitate that you use a good weight distribution hitch. So friends, I would have to imagine that we're approaching the gross vehicle weight of the truck, the 10,000 pounds, when you got 1,500 pounds of tongue weight plus all our passengers and the gear that we keep under the bed cap plus the bed cap itself and the cargo glide and all that stuff. You'll see with a properly adjusted hitch, it does ride level down the road, and it rides solid down the road, and it has no problem pulling the 10,000 pound trailer behind us. Now, we've only put, I don't know, 200 or 300 miles towing this trailer, but we've gone up some grades. I know that it can do it. That's all I need to know. Now, I've yet to really get a good test of going with the cruise control 70 mile an hour down the interstate, but I know with our old trailer we were able to do that in almost any conditions. So we'll see with this one. But as far as power goes, now you may know I have the 410 rear axle in this thing. It's got 17,000 pounds of towing capacity. It doesn't have to shift constantly or do anything crazy with the transmission. It's pretty much 6th and 7th gear going down the road, unless it's a real steep grade. You're going to see like 4th gear or something like that, like 4,000 plus RPMs on your 6% grades and things like that. Down in West Virginia and Maryland predominantly, there's grades down there on I-68, and I think it's 70 and 19 in West Virginia. So it definitely tacks pretty high, and it only gets like 7 miles per gallon when we drive that route. So let's discuss fuel mileage real quick while we're on the topic, okay? The fuel mileage of this thing is all over the place. It's anywhere from 7 to 10, 11 towing, depending on terrain, depending on wind. The best we've ever got is close to 11, and that was flat land down South Carolina way at low elevation. And I think the worst we've gotten is 7, and that's in West Virginia. So, yeah, it's kind of all over the place. And when you're unloaded, the same story. Anywhere from 13 to 17. You might get 18, but it's all over the place, is the moral of the story. Mountains and stuff, all that affects it. It's a heavy truck. It takes a lot to get it up a hill, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm sure the tires probably don't help my cause as far as fuel mileage goes, but they keep me from getting stuck. We've had this thing off-road. Let's talk that. We've had this thing off-road everywhere. If you watched our videos down in Virginia at Grayson Highlands, we took it up to what they call the scales and National Forest Road. Pretty gnarly. And we've also had it on some Pennsylvania high clearance drivable trails, they call them, and pretty gnarly stuff. And the truck does real well. It does real well in the mud with the tires and stuff. So yeah, you gotta pay to play. So that hurts fuel mileage, but it gets you where you want to go. We're gonna wrap up the oil change, and I'm sure there's some other stuff that I'm missing that you guys want to know about. All right, so let's get this expensive filter out of the box here. I say expensive, it was like $12. Get your oil from Amazon. The price actually went down recently, so it is cheaper than it used to be. I forget what I paid for the box, but I think it went down by like $10 to $20 from what it used to be. These are $12. They look to be a very well-made filter, and from when they tore it apart, the internals, some of them are even the same as Wicks. I think the bypass valve is the same exact one. It's just the media that's different. I hate these little jugs. It's really stupid that they don't make these in like the 5-quart jugs. They make the Pennzoil Ultra Platinum in the 5-quart jugs for every other way to oil except for this. Such is life, I guess. I do usually fill this up just a smidge, but it goes on there sideways, so you can't fill it all the way up. I do put some in here, and there's of course a debate on that online as to whether you should do that or not. I was told you do, and I've always have, so that's what I do. And yeah, just enough to try to get it to like soak into the media is kind of what I'm going for, because like I said, it's all just gonna spill out. Alright, I know I'm short and I need a ladder to get up under my hood, which to me I find a little bit absurd, but that's the way trucks are nowadays. It wouldn't matter what brand you got. I think Ram might be particularly high though by comparison. Of course, the oil fill is way back in here, so you got to get all the way up in. And of course, you've even got it on your cap to remind you that it's OW40 synthetic engine oil recommended. You should remember to put your plug back in your oil pan before you start dumping this expensive Pennzoil stuff in here. I'm really anal about getting every drop of oil from every one of these jugs in there, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Let's talk about, would we buy this same truck again? So if today was early 2021, would we order this same Ram 2500 6.4 Hemi with the 410 rear end again? The answer is most definitely yes. Like 1000%. If this was early 2021, I would buy this same exact truck for the same exact reasons that I told you in the original video. Of course, that video is not really worth watching anymore because the information is not relevant. The game has changed, friends. Ram, to get something optioned similarly to this, is like $12,000 to $14,000 more, and you can't get the nice interior that I have. And Hydro Blue is no longer a color on the HD trucks. Because I'm particular with options and features and things, and I don't like all black interiors, and I like the Bighorn trim with the cloth seats because that's in my price range, although not anymore. If I was to buy a Ram, I can't even afford that. I'd have to get like a tradesman or something, and I'd probably come out of that disappointed. So what today truck would I buy? It ain't gonna be a GM because the transmission issue that I've talked about. I'm a GM guy, but I've watched a lot of videos on it. Like, I wanted GM with the 10-speed Allison to say, come buy me. Well, I don't. So say this truck got like totaled or something. God forbid, because that'd be a real bad situation. But say it did. What would I buy today? It'd probably be a Ford with the XLT 7.3. I don't know if I'd get the 430 rear. I don't know if I'd need it. I'd probably get it. But you can option a Ford XLT. Now, you can't get it with chrome if you want the nice things. So it'd be the blacked out exterior, which I don't particularly care for. And I especially don't like Ford's new front end. They ruined Super Duty. In spite of all that, you can get a really nice interior color scheme with the Ford XLT. It's some sort of camel color tan stuff, and it looks really good. And there's some sort of specific way you got to option it to get that, and it's also the best bang for your buck, I think. GM might be cheaper, but GM sticks you with black on black everywhere, outside, inside. And if you want the gray interior, you can't get any nice things. And I think LED lights, Ford is the only way to do that in a cloth-seated package. Even if I was going upscale looking for leather, Ram just is too expensive. So again, Ford takes the cake, I think, when it comes to pricing currently. Yeah, that's where I'm at today, but we're not in the market. We're keeping this. We're rust-proofing everything and doing everything we can maintenance-wise, as you've seen, in order to keep this truck because it fits our needs quite perfectly. Do I regret not getting a diesel? No, I do not regret not getting a diesel. This can go 70 mile an hour down the highway towing a trailer, and I wouldn't want to tow a trailer any faster than that. So diesel ain't going to get me anywhere quicker because I can't go faster than that speed. Yeah, it accelerates maybe a little bit quicker, but you'd save, what, like 3 seconds getting to your destination? What's that get you? And a lot of headache with diesel. We won't get into it. It's been discussed on the internet ad nauseum. And for us, with this, because this trailer was the reason we got the truck in the first place, right? Not to tow the trailer that we had, but to tow the next trailer, which is this. And we're going to have this a while, and we ain't going any bigger than this. This truck, with the Hemi, with 410 gears, tows this trailer down the highway perfectly fine. Yeah, it's reliable. It starts every time I push the button. The dial shifter is not really an issue like people say that it is. What else? I don't have anything else. That's why it took me so long to get to this video, because I had nothing really interesting to say, and I don't want to beat the same dead horse we've already beaten on this channel 2 years ago. So the truck is great. The truck does what it's supposed to do, and it's our truck from now till I don't know, till the wheels fall off, and then I'll probably put the wheels back on, or someone else comes out with something, you know, the gas-powered Cummins that's been talked about. That might entice me. We'll see what Ram does. But if it's the 3-liter Hurricane, that ain't happening. So this is probably the last video ever on the truck until we get rid of it, so, or something crazy happens, in which case you'll see it in the vlogs. So if you like to see us take adventures in this trailer, you should subscribe, because this trailer is going to take us to all kinds of amazing places that we've never been before. We've got a big trip coming up this coming year. You're going to see us tow this thing basically halfway across the country. We'll see how the truck does. I'm sure it'll be fine. Be sure you subscribe so you can see all that. And we got lots of RV modification content too that either just came out or is coming out. So that's all I have for now. We'll see you in the next video, friends.